Hi, I'm Chanel, one of the journalists at Manx Radio. Welcome to the latest edition of Manx Radio Newscast. Right, can I start with your name, please?
My name is Sarah Vondy.
Right, now you're a third year student?
Yes, third year, yeah.
All right, and you did a dissertation and your theme was centered around menopause.
Yes, specifically menopause in the workplace, yeah.
Before I go on, what are you studying?
Public health.
Perfect, right. So what made you choose menopause?
I think it was an issue that obviously as a younger woman, I don't personally struggle with. So it was definitely about trying to find out about experiences other than my own. And I did a placement last year in a corporate office, and they had loads of people come in, talk about menopause, and I thought, wow, this is really good, but I wonder if this is the experience universally across all workplace industries. So that's what really sparked my interest.
And what did you find? Is it something that's experienced everywhere?
Yeah, so I looked at specifically different employment industries. So I looked at 5 categories. The majority of my respondents were from the corporate sector, from government, and from healthcare and Manx care, which is to be expected. So yeah, the experiences are very, very different. I found quite a significant difference between how government experienced menopause at work and menopause support at work and how corporate experienced menopause support at work. There was quite a big statistical significance between the respondents, so that was really interesting.
Would you be able to share any of those stats with us?
Yeah, so there was, getting into all the sciencey bit, I found a p-value of 0.0366. So obviously if it's under 0.5 it's statistically significant, but obviously 0.03 is quite significant. And bearing in mind my response rate was, I had 568 responses, which is obviously quite a large number of people, especially for the Isle of Man. So you have to take that, like, wow, that is quite a difference. 40% of people in corporate said they had a lot of support, compared to only 20% of people in government who said they received a lot of support. It was quite a wide difference in between how women felt they were supported in the workplace.
That's very interesting. And what were some of your recommendations?
Yeah, so I did a mix of qualitative and quantitative, and I did thematic analysis as well. So women were quite descriptive. I allowed women time to sort of really say their thoughts. And one of the things that arises was really, really interesting actually, because a lot of women said that a lot of younger people, particularly younger female line managers, were not very supportive, which was really, really interesting, because you think it would be men, sorry to all the men out there, you think it would be men that wouldn't understand, but a lot of people came back and said it was younger female line managers. So one of my recommendations was a lot more training, a lot more awareness. A lot of people said younger women who weren't menopausal yet just didn't have any idea about what it was like to be a menopausal woman. So that was one of my recommendations, that more training needs to be done, more workplace policies need to be put in place, and people just need to be aware about how difficult it is to be a menopausal woman, because these women are really, really struggling.
I was just going to ask, is there still that misconception that it's just menopause?
Oh, 100%. I don't think people really realise, and I personally didn't really realise how much it affects people, specifically at work, because work can be such a stressful, high pressurised environment, and you've got women who already are in corporate jobs struggling to reach the top, the same as men do, and are absolutely doing so well, but are suddenly finding themselves sitting in a boardroom having a hot flush, or can't remember their words, or can't remember, and feel like they look silly and they look like an idiot and they're incompetent, but they're not. It's just because they're menopausal, and people just don't understand the extent that it reaches.
Now, aside from the finding about the younger women who haven't experienced menopause not being as understanding as they should, was there anything during your research phase that stuck out for you?
Yeah, I think mainly I think I came in with prior assumptions about what industry would be bad, what industry would be good. I work part-time with Manx Care at hospital, so I obviously have my own experiences with how I see things. So I think I definitely had to say in my dissertation that I was coming in not completely, objective, and that I had these assumptions and that I had to prove them wrong or right, or it was mainly just the difference. I think you always hear about corporates getting so much more support, but I think the vast difference was quite significant.
Now, I know you've handed in your dissertation. Is there any way, or would you like your results or information to be passed on, to maybe higher ups or something, just to see if you can, implement that change?
Yeah, I think during my discussion bit of my dissertation, I was doing research on what policies there are in government at the minute. And from what I could see, the policies are not very good and not very in-depth, and didn't really look like they were very thought out. So I think that would be brilliant to see in government, rising up and meeting the same level as corporate. People who work in government deserve to have policies that are good, and training and people coming in and making them aware about menopause and how they can be supported. Government, I think, really do need to change, I think, on their support with menopause. Step up their game, yeah.
In terms of menopause in the workplace, I know it's not something that it's something that's the discussions in the offices are still something that's quite new. I think I only started hearing about it maybe 2 years ago. Is it the right discussions that's happening?
Yeah, I think there are. It's a taboo. It is still such a taboo topic, and I think, from my experience, there are obviously mainly issues with people thinking, just get on with it. And you hear those discussions all the time going on. They're not positive. They are just, you need to get on with it. And I think the understanding just isn't there. We need to be talked about more. We need more training. We need people to understand that it is a life issue that everyone goes through, but it is something that really affects people.
I think my last question would be, so when this plays out, the subject of menopause and menopause in the workplace, it is a talking point. And when this plays out, lots of people are going to hear it. What is your message to those people? And what about those people who are going to say, oh, but she's not an expert in her field or in this?
I think just none of us are experts. We're just trying to raise awareness for an issue, and I think we're all learning, and I think menopausal women themselves are learning, and that's the point, that we all need to learn about it. And I've learned so much there's so much that I didn't know, there's so much that I still don't know, but I definitely learned a lot just reading through and talking to loads of women. I mean, 568 responses is so much. So I was reading through all of them, and really just, my dissertation was more about how women feel and how women feel the support they get, not necessarily about the science behind it. It was more about how are women actually feeling, and how can we improve women's work quality of life.
From that 560 some odd, was it all women?
Yeah, all women. Yeah, all women. The ages of 45 to 55.
Oh, lovely. And when you did go into any of the workplaces or speak to any of the workplaces, were there any men or anything, did you get the men's perspective as well?
Yeah, not so much. I think that is definitely something that I made lots of recommendations about. So much research that needs to be done in the future off the back of mine. Obviously, I'm just my bachelor's degree student. I'm not a PhD student. I'm not the government or anything. So it was quite a small scale study, but I made so much recommendations about research that needs to be done in different areas, and I didn't get much in the sort of manual labour and hostile retail. That was only 7.4% of respondents, so there obviously needs to be so much more research done in there. So a research done on the male perspective is definitely needed, because there isn't much out there at the minute.
Thank you for making it to the end of the Little Manx Radio newscast. You are obviously someone with exquisite taste. May I politely suggest you might want to subscribe to this and a wide range of Manx Radio podcasts at your favourite podcast provider, so our best bits will magically appear on your smartphone. Thank you.